Cheers. Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Thirsty Professional. This is a place where we grab a bevy. Yes, we grab a bevy. We ditch the BS. Oh, do we ditch the BS? And we get real about careers, purpose, and passion. I'm your host, Beth Ann Campbell. I'm a former corporate queen who traded in her crown for a pen and a microphone. I am also author of the award-winning Where the Hell is My Bacon, a great corporate book for you folks suffering from your corporate jobs right now. When are people ever not suffering from their corporate jobs? If you're watching live, please let us know that you're here in the comments. Where are you from? And most importantly, what are you drinking today? If you're watching the replay, please give us a hashtag replay. And of course, let us know if you have any questions or feedback so we can address it during the live stream. And just a little tip for those of you when you're commenting, if you're responding to something that one of us said, a little context sometimes helps if it's not obvious, because sometimes I get random comments and I don't remember because minutes can go by before we get to address them. So much appreciated. All right, today my very, very, very special guest on The Thirsty Professional is Vandana Puranik. Vandana, hey, folks out there, audience, your mind called. It's ready for an upgrade. And who's going to help you with that? Vandana Puranik's going to help you with that. She is a thinkfluencer. Love that. Idea architect. Love that even more. And business builder. Can I add badass? I'm going to add a badass business builder to that. Also a great title creator. I'm a big fan of titles, and I love that you put some thought into your awesome titles. For over 25 years, she built brands, scaled businesses, turned chaos into clarity, working for huge clients like Revlon, Proctor Gamble, Campbells, no relation. She is a best-selling author, TEDx and International speaker, and founder of Active Ingredients, Inc. And she also recently founded What She Said, which is a posse, posse of bad bitches doing great things. Oh, I love the swear words. Vandana helps ambitious humans do the impossible, figure out where to go when nothing's working, and how to win when the rules don't apply. She was also in a coma for 2 weeks. We'll talk about that. I know that one was out of nowhere, but you know what? This is why we're here, to talk about our stories. Welcome, Vandana Puranik. Welcome to the show, Vandana. So glad to have you. We're going to talk about so much fun stuff. What are you drinking today?
2 of these.
Oh, that's amazing. Good. I love when the water drinkers come on.
Yeah.
I've got my water too. I just have my coffee first. So how much water do you drink in a day? May I ask?
That's not a good question.
Is it too much?
I'd like to say I drink 2 liters, but that's just simply not true. I'm up to 1 liter, but I drink a lot of other stuff. So I never know if that counts, like there's a lot of other stuff that you can drink.
It's, I always hear, well, you don't count coffee because coffee's kind of diuretic. But then, my question to the experts is, if I were on a desert island and all I had to drink was coffee, would I die? Or would that just, I've also heard people say, yes, it counts. Yes, coffee can act as a diuretic a little bit, but it still is water. Soda is the same thing, right? I mean, I'm going to say it's sort of debatable.
But all those like protein drinks or like juices or
right? Milk. Like I drink
milk. Like I get enough volume, but it's not all water.
I'm the same way, Vandana, because I say at the end of the day, I think I don't think I drank enough water today, but I think I'm in the bathroom all the time because I got coffee, and then I I'll occasionally have a soda, and I'll drink milk or almond milk or whatever. So yeah. Let's just say it counts.
So much talk about beverages. We could just do the whole
I know we could. Well, my tagline is grab a bevy. I probably could do a whole show. I did want to ask you real quickly, because you went to Duke University, right?
Yeah.
Did you know that Duke University used to have a paranormal studies, a parapsychology department, or a major? I think you could even do.
I do know that very well because I was tested there.
No. When I was a kid, I found out this, this would have been back in the probably the very early 80s. And I used to be really into, that's what I read, right? I was a big reader, and I would read the Stephen Kings and the scary books. And I thought, oh, that would be a really cool thing. And so when people would ask me when I was probably 11, 12, 13, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would say, oh, I'm going to go to Duke University and major in parapsychology, which I never did. And the entity is still there, but it's no longer affiliated with Duke. But that's brush with fame, I feel.
I have to tell you, I was tested there, and it was a very unsettling experience because I I saw things and I could predict things before they happened. So and it was I couldn't stop it. And so when I went there, I did through all these tests, and it scared me so much that I just shut it right down. And
So,
so
so you shut the ability down?
yeah.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I just it was just like a closed door. I could open it up again, but I don't want to know everything that's going to
Yeah,
happen,
yeah.
you
That's
know?
fair. That's fair. I don't know in my age that I do either, but back then when I was 12, how old were you when you were being tested?
17.
Ooh, I yeah, that's gotta be scary. That's
Yeah, it
gotta
was
be very scary.
very scary. And I'm telling you, like, there's a lot of weird tests that they do. Weird.
Can you
Like,
tell me just one of them, like one weird one that you
yeah,
remember?
they I remember them putting turning the room very dark and putting like half red golf balls on my eyes. And like I don't know, it was just very like I don't know if that's even normal now, but that's one thing I remember is like,
Sure.
you know
You know,
what?
I that's something that I do out in my garage every weekend. I just pick up colored golf balls and cut them in half and
Sorry,
put 'em
maybe I should say ping pong balls because they were
ping
hollow.
pong balls.
Sorry,
Yeah.
not golf balls.
Either
That would be
either or.
very
Oh, that
heavy.
well, that makes it much more acceptable. I mean, that's
Yeah.
well, that's understandable. That's
Yeah,
funny.
so just things like that. And then, of course, with the cards and the screens and, you know,
Yeah.
it was just and then they'd leave you alone and it'd be kinda scary.
I would imagine. Come
Yeah.
on. Come on,
Anyway.
Duke. Or
Yeah.
I guess now it's the Rhine Institute or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I had no idea that you were gonna say that, so I love these weird serendipity moments when I have some random thought about, "Oh, Duke University, I wanted to be, into the psychic studies," and then, "Oh, well, yes, by the way, I was tested there," so it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so Wandana, I wanna talk first let's start with just to let our audience know because we got some people jumping in, and we'll go actually, let's go there first before I ask you that. Because we do have some people jumping in here, and I'm so appreciative of you, Joanne. Am I going to say this name right? Belenkis,
Palinkas.
Belenkis. Thank you. She says, "Good morning to my friends from South California. Ooh, yay! One of my favorite people, Wandana. Aw, that's nice. Woohoo! Posse member here. Awesome. Well, we are going to talk about the posse. Eileen Pizzy's here with her coffee, New Jersey. Thanks for showing up here, Eileen. I love it when you show up and that you're my coffee sister. And the amazing Doris Walsh. Hiya, ladies, joining from Southampton, UK with her Earl Grey tea. Doris was on the show about a month ago and wore some really fun hats and had an amazing, insightful conversation. Check that one out.
Actually,
Thank-
Doris and I have met.
have you? Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, she's
And
yeah.
yeah, so I just realized like, "Hey, wait a second. We actually had a nice conversation."
Doris is hard to forget when you meet her because she's
Mhm.
amazing and she's a fireball. I love you,
And of course,
Doris.
Joanne, I know and I adore. So,
Thank you. I don't know Joanne, but I do now, and thank you for joining. All right, okay, so now let's start with just let our audience know what it is that you do right now, and what are you thirsty for in your profession or your passion or your purpose?
this is a really good. So I'm a marketer and strategist by profession. I did that for about 25 years, corporate consulting, freelance, the whole bit.
Condolences.
Yeah. You know how that is very well.
Me too.
And it only took me 25 years, but then I got bored. So
23 for me, so I hear you.
yeah, I didn't actually get bored, but because I had so much variety, and I thrive on variety. I thrive on knowing what the future brings, thrill of victory, agony of the defeat, like that kind of a person.
Mm, mm.
And excuse me for the cough. And I went through the whole process of trying to figure out like what is it that I'm really uneasy with. And what I figured out is that I am blown away by the human capacity to brilliantly solve the wrong problems and doing it over and over again. And my God, that's insane.
I love, love, love that. I put a post out this week to
Yeah.
promote with that exact quote. Can you tell me an example of something that we do or that you do, a problem that you solve that is maybe the wrong problem to solve?
Yeah, I'll give you a really simple example. And I use this example only because everybody can relate to it, at least almost everybody. And It's very, very simple and very clear. So I'm going to talk about um, your home, whether it's,
Uh-oh.
you have a big home or whether you have a condo or whatever it is, you've got, some sort of plant somewhere. If you really want to keep it looking beautiful, you're going to make sure that you weed and water and feed and all of that stuff, right? But here's the scoop. If you keep weeding every day, that's only the surface problem that you're addressing. You're not actually figuring out what the problem is to solve because you didn't have the right problem. It's what you see, but sometimes there's underlying stuff that you don't see. So stuff that's below the ground is the stuff that you don't see. So if the
Got it.
outcome is beauty in the garden, what are you going to do to make that happen? And there are a number of things that you could do. You could do something to control the weeds. You could give better food. You could do the automatic watering thing. Like there's just so many. It takes you in so many different directions
Yeah.
that you would have been far better off had you started there first.
I use the example, that's a great analogy. I use the example for me when I was in corporate because I'm kind of known for my corporate rants. I wrote a couple of books that were very snarky, ranty. I've come down hard on corporate, even though there were parts of it that I loved. But it really wasn't until I left corporate that I realized I was trying so hard to control and solve the problem of what I perceived as all of this stuff coming at me, happening to me. And I realized, and that was all true, there was stuff happening around me, but I never once said, okay, maybe once I did, a whole story for another time, but most of the time I really wasn't thinking,
Mhm.
I'm part of the problem, and maybe I should be looking within to solve the problem that I can control, because I can't solve every problem that's out there. I can't solve the horrible leadership. I can't solve too many projects coming at me, and I'm being told we have to do it all, right? But I can control myself, and so I never solved that problem, and I never even realized it was a problem until I got out, and I realized if I had worked on myself, I don't know, I might still be there because I was a part of the problem, and but I wasn't looking from within to what I could control and what I could effectively solve. So that was
It's
my
interesting because I went through a case where, you think you're solving, um, you solve for what you see when you solve a problem.
yeah.
And in my case, you talked about the coma. Nobody knew what it was. Nobody knew what the heck was happening to me. It was just life or death. That's it, you know? And so if they had solved for the problem, initially it was an infection. They solved for that problem, but I got worse. So they actually didn't, and that's what put me in a coma. I got worse and worse and worse. So they were thinking, here we solved the problem, and guess what? We didn't solve for the outcome.
So just for context, you were in seeking treatment
Breast cancer.
for breast cancer. Okay,
Yeah.
and then you
Which I
had
still, yeah.
okay. And how are you doing?
I'm good. That was last year, and I'm doing good, but I was just recently hit with a pretty bad strain of influenza A, which
Mm.
for people who don't know, B is the normal one, A can kill you, especially if you're immunocompromised. So it's very serious. So that's why you'll hear me coughing every now and then, just catching up. But I went through. I mean, I had breast cancer. I was in a coma. I had something called ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome. So when you look at a scan, lungs look black because they're empty, meaning they're hollow. Mine were white. So, which basically meant
Oh,
I was
wow.
getting no oxygen and I wasn't eating. So I was getting no glucose. And I had lost about 10 pounds a week. And
Oh my God.
I was losing my ability to breathe. So when you put it all together and an infection, so when you put it all together, it's pretty scary, right? And when I say I was in a coma, I was intubated. I was on a ventilator. My hands were tied to the railings. My feet
Oh
were
my
bent.
God.
I had, I had IVs going from my neck like butt 10 to my wrist, and my eyes were taped shut. I was paralyzed. So
And
this
this was intentional, right? This was not, I fell into a
was
coma. This was,
intentional,
we're going to
yeah.
put you in a coma.
But you have to really think about why it would be intentional, because nothing else worked,
Dire. Yeah.
right? So people think, "Oh, you were induced." It's like, yeah, there's a reason for that, you know?
Yeah.
It's almost like if you're induced, it's a lesser of a coma. Um, it's the same thing. I was in a coma for 2 weeks. So you were like only in a coma for 2 days, no big deal. A coma is a coma, man.
Yeah.
Like it's as simple
Are
as that.
you aware at all of anything going on? I mean, it's just a crazy question, but I'm sure people have, it crosses their mind, like whenever somebody's in a coma, because we watch a lot of medical shows that are not factual, but sometimes, people are. There are syndromes where people are in a coma, but they're actually aware. Were you?
So, first of all, I have to tell you, my daughter diagnoses everything based on Grey's Anatomy. So you're totally right.
I'm not sure that
Telling
that's
my
the
dad,
best one to use.
she tells my dad, who's a pediatric surgeon, and my mom, who is an OBGYN. It's like, that's not what Grey's
This
Anatomy
is what
says.
it
You should be
is,
doing it
right?
this way.
Yeah, that's funny.
Anyway, so what I was going to say though is that I had the best coma ever. I loved my coma. Like I I was flying like Superman through different galaxies and realms, and landing in
No
places,
shit.
yeah, landing in places that you would, I mean, it was incredible.
So you
I
were
mean,
having kind of like these crazy dream like or war whatever, but I don't know, maybe you were actually traveling to another dimension. Who
I
knows?
was I was going through different dimensions, different realms, but I didn't see anything
Mm,
scary. Like
yeah.
nothing scared me. I mean, maybe like flying through the universe
Sure.
did, but didn't scare me. It was like I was like
Gives me
Superman.
chills. Yeah.
Yeah. And I saw so many things that were humanly possible but just not done yet. And the
Wow.
the opportunity for us as humans is huge to have such a great impact. And I hope we get there. We're working our way there, but right now it's a bit of a tough time. So
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember when you were brought out of the coma?
slowly, I was brought out really slowly. And I was so mad. I looked at a ceiling tile at one point and I said, "Oh, hell no, put me back."
Oh,
It was so good. Now, it's important that my family doesn't hear this podcast because they were like, it was the worst experience for them.
yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah. So
of
they,
course.
they, I mean, my husband actually was hugely instrumental in saving my life. But
Did I remember correctly, if correct me if I'm wrong, because I thought you had said that this was part of your, was it your TED Talk that you talked about your
yeah,
coma?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So 3 days. So I was in the hospital for 2 months, including rehab. And I have to tell you funny stories about that. But 3 days after I got out of the hospital, I did my TEDx talk.
Are you shitting me?
No, I wish I was because it was so hard. Like, but I was so determined. And
Oh
I
my
don't even
God.
care what it looks like. I'm just going to do it. And it was like there were several times where I thought I was going to tip over. Like it was so hard because I had just gotten off of oxygen not that long ago, so it was pretty fun. But pretty odd, but when I was in my in rehab, people would often ask me because they'd see me in like in a blue gown. It's like, "Are you in jail?" Because it looks like you're in jail. And then or I was bald as well, and so people would just say like, when I said to people I'm in rehab, I actually had a good friend of mine ask me, "Is it because of all the drugs?" And I'm like,
What are you talking?
"No, it's not the drugs."
Yes, I got into meth while yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. Imagine. Well, I was on barbiturates, so
Yeah.
fair question, I suppose. But
That's
that's
that's amazing that you would get up 3 days after you get out of the hospital after having gone through this entire ordeal and been in a coma for 2 weeks. You get up on a stage, you probably still by all rights should be at the very least home recuperating, and you're like, "You know what? I'm gonna do this."
I'm gonna do
Folks,
this.
that's what we call badass, right? Not that I would recommend that people if they're sick, but you know what? Sometimes you just have the
And you
guts
know
to.
what? I'm not. advocating for barbiturates either, just so we're clear.
That's
Yeah.
okay. It's the thirsty professional. We swear and we
Yeah.
sometimes people show up with alcoholic beverages, it's good.
I
Good.
love that. At 10 in the morning, that's awesome.
Doris did. Now, it wasn't 10 in the morning for her. It was in the afternoon, but she brought champagne with her when she visited.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So what do you love about barbiturates?
Best trip I ever had, honestly. And me and all the entire street gang, we just hung out near the hospital.
Yeah.
We were all one.
Oh,
But I have to tell you, I can actually understand why it's addictive, because
yeah.
you are in a completely different world, and I don't know if that's the same experience that everybody has, but they're actually downers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
As
so
we called them back in the 80s.
yeah, so you've really I mean, it's you're just in a whole different mind. Like, you can go so many places, you know.
It's really interesting. So and I love that thank you for sharing your and being so candid about it. Um, this is completely not even in the realm of what you went through, but I recently in January had my first colonoscopy. I've never had surgery. I've never been under anesthesia. I've never even had a broken bone, even a finger or stitches, nothing. I've never been in a hospital for anything other than with other people, right? But I had my colonoscopy and it was the first time I'd ever been under anesthesia. And it was such a weird experience. I didn't experience anything while I was out, but it was so bizarre to me that I'm sitting on this bed and they're talking to me and they're even asking me about this. What do you do? So oh well, I'm kind of I'm a podcaster and an author. Oh, well, tell me about your podcast. Next thing I know, I'm jolted because the bed hits like a corner of a wall or something, taking me back into my room. It's a half an hour later. And I just remember thinking, I just felt like I had the best nap of my entire life.
Yeah.
I didn't remember anything, of course, no, weird, crazy dreams or anything, but I just thought, wow, that is
It's
so,
really neat because general anesthesia is completely different than being in a coma.
oh
Completely.
yeah, I'm wonderful.
And the only reason I say that is because you're asleep and then you're awake.
Yeah.
There's no in between,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And, first of all, I love general anesthesia. It's so good. It's like I was going in for my breast cancer surgery and I was like, "Oh my god, hit me." Like, it's like
Right? I'm gonna be
people are
if I ever
loud.
have another surgery, that's what I'm
Yeah,
gonna be like. I'm like,
yeah,
"What, 10 years to my next colonoscopy? Come on,
yeah.
this is great." This is kind of a great
But I have
experience.
to tell you, Beth Ann, I have to tell you, like, I don't get sick. And the last time I
No?
was sick was December of 1988.
No, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, like, little sniffles and stuff I don't count as being sick, like, everybody goes through. It's like
Yeah.
having an allergy,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't count those, or I might have, you know, stubbed my toe or
Yeah. Yeah.
broken my toe, but in terms of getting sick,
Like no flu or COVID or anything like
oh,
that.
I've had COVID, but I hardly even knew.
Wow.
And I've had flus, they last maybe 6 hours.
Wow.
Like, it's just really bizarre, and so when this hit me, it was so shocking, but I had felt a darkness getting back to this whole, the Duke parapsychology thing.
Oh boy. Oh,
Um,
this is exciting. I'm so glad we're wrapping it back. We're circling it back to that because
yeah,
I
yeah,
love this.
but I felt a darkness coming at me. And even when my mom died 3 years ago, she was ready to go. Like, I was very,
Yeah.
very happy when she died, um, for her.
Yeah.
For me, if I'm gonna just make it about me, then I'd be crying a lot. But I'm
Yeah.
just like that. I'm very positive, very strong. It was the right thing for her, and same thing, you know, it is really, um where were we again? This happens to me a lot, by the way.
No, that's okay. We were talking about, so I'm gonna say the same thing. Where were we? So in your minds. No, we were talking about your mom and
Oh, the
oh,
darkness.
back the
Yeah,
darkness. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Wrapping.
So I was trying to figure out, like, what the heck is this darkness? I know something is coming at me, and boom, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So, and it was the
Ooh,
weirdest thing is it was almost a relief because it felt like, hey, I finally know what's going on. And okay, now that we know what's going on, we can move forward.
yeah.
Because limbo is the worst place to be, right? The
Yeah. The
biggest fear
unknown
we
is
have is the
horrible.
fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
So Better to know, better to make a decision, better to
Yeah.
know, better have to have that finality and understand what's going on so you can
I
progress.
100% agree. Folks out there who are in our audience, do you prefer to know or not know? Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I think I don't know that I think in most cases, Wandana, I do like to know, especially if it's something that you've been challenged with over and over or for a long time, and you just it's finally you have a diagnosis
Yeah,
or whatever it is. But I also think in the grander scheme of things, I actually was thinking about this weird universe moment happening right now because I was thinking about this morning. I was driving back from dropping my dog off at daycare. Yes, I send my dog to daycare. We're having a garage sale this weekend. She needs to not be here because she's a bundle of she's a rhino. Anyway, I was driving back and I was just thinking, would I want to know because this here's the train of thought. I'm in my car. I want to listen to something, but I kind of don't. I don't. The only thing I can really get in that I'm into is NPR, and I really don't listen to the news anymore because
me
I
neither.
have taken an ignorance is bliss mentality with what's going on in the world and certainly in the United States, but also outside of the United States. And it doesn't do me any good to focus on that negativity and if it's something huge, it'll pop up on my Facebook. Somebody will say something about it. But then the train of thought led to, well, what if there were missiles headed to, all these cities and we were about to be, would I want to know? And I feel like if it's a situation where it's just, I know it's going to end in a certain way, not a good one. I don't know if I'd want to know.
I
I
wouldn't
think
want
I
to know.
would, yeah, I just would want to just
I
enjoy
wouldn't I
my life and live my beautiful life until that moment, and then
and like I didn't want to know about breast cancer, but once I did, I could move forward. Like it's like
yeah, yeah,
because I was in limbo, right?
right. Well,
So
that's a
same thing.
situation where you're also it's not, "Hey, I've got a missile coming directly at my house. I'm gonna die in an hour. Do I wanna know I'm gonna die in an hour, or do I just want it to happen?" I probably just wanna let it happen, but breast cancer is not a, "I'm gonna die immediately." It's a, "Okay, I need to figure out what's going on." So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And I think the biggest thing that people really that impacts people is the idea of hope. Because
yeah.
if there is no hope, there is nothing else. So even if you're sick, the hope is that you'll get better. Um, you know, that's just my perspective. But
If you when you were diagnosed, if I can ask,
yeah,
you had felt this darkness, but what was can you just for because it's there's so many women that have dealt with breast cancer.
yeah.
What can you tell me a little bit about what prompted you to even go seek treatment? I mean, what were you experiencing? Was it did you find a lump? Were you something else? Tell me about what you were experiencing.
Regular mammogram.
Oh, there
And
you go, ladies.
yeah, I hadn't had one in about 2.5 to 3 years. And all I can say is have them regularly, always show up, try to go once a year.
Yep.
Because I actually think the period of 6 months that I was feeling that darkness is when the breast cancer actually started, growing.
Yeah.
Because I had a lumpectomy, so I had part of my breast taken out. Um, but and I had a very severe version. I had a fast growing one as well, and it's also hit my lymph nodes. So I'm still going through treatment. I'll be going through treatment. In terms of oral chemo, I'm on now for the next couple of years, and then I have another 3 to 5 years beyond that for other medications. So it's a long haul.
Yeah.
But I'm super positive, super strong. I'm like only going to focus on the positive and push myself in that direction.
That
So,
is so awesome.
and it's important for me to surround myself with, people who have the same kind of energy. Not that they can't feel, things are difficult here and there.
Yeah. Yeah.
This notion of making sure that we're here together, we're here for each other,
Yeah.
and we're just going to get through it, and it's as simple as that.
Well, that's a great segue because you have surrounded yourself by
Mhm.
a group of amazing women, your
Mhm.
posse, what she said. Tell us a little bit about that. I know that, Joanne had said she is a part of the posse.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. Well, first of all, tell us what it is, and then I want you to tell me about how this evolved, how this
Yeah.
evolved.
It's almost, I have to tell you how it evolved first.
Yeah, go
It
ahead.
kind
Go
of
for
made
it.
logical sense that way.
Yeah.
So after I came out of my coma, there were a lot of things that sort of came flooding to the forefront. And one of them was a story about my kids. So my two older kids, he was 6 and she was 7 at the time, and he was having behavioral issues. So we had a chat with his teacher, and she said, "Yeah, that makes total sense because he's testing at a high school level for math and university level for reading comprehension."
My God. He
And
was what, 6?
6, yeah.
God.
So we were like, "Huh, that's interesting," because our daughter was exactly the same.
Mm.
So we had no idea that this was like even a thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we ended up having them tested by a psychologist who's been doing it for about 30 years, a well-known psychologist. And he comes back and he says to us, "I can count on one hand kids as bright as yours." And then we were like floored. But this is not about bragging about my kids. There's a reason why I'm telling you this, because the next two questions were really instrumental. The first question was, "So what are you going to do for your son?" So this is amazing. So now we have the paperwork to say that we can fast track him into the right program for him in the school board. So we're all about that. The second question was, "What are you going to do for your daughter?" We said, "She's doing amazing. She's super happy. She's like a create happiness kind of person. You know, intelligence is not the first thing that comes to mind when you see her. It's just
Yeah.
she's just all smiles."
Yeah.
And
A butterfly.
yeah, she's but she's very rooted, and she's got lots of friends. She's doing really well in school. So why try to fix something that ain't broke? And then he turns around and he says to us, "That's exactly why you need to push for her,
Mm.
because this is what happens
Chills.
to women and girls all the time."
Well, this is so important because I know people, in fact, maybe some people even on the call or listening to this on the replay, who have gone through this same experience themselves as a child of not understanding why am I different? And often it's, well, you have a near genius IQ, or they may have kids of their own right now, or they've gone through it themselves. So this is really important. And I love, oh my God, how rarely does that happen? That
Rare.
somebody is gonna say is gonna stick up for the girls because, hey, because you're right, you were perfectly valid in thinking, "My daughter's doing great, why would I wanna?"
Yeah.
But
Why
good
would we
point.
want to disrupt that? But this is when disruption is a good thing. And so what happened was that came screaming to the forefront after my coma. So I was like, what the heck is going on? And then I had always wanted to do something for women. I didn't know what, because I wanted it to be different than what you could find out there. So what I did is I interviewed about 200 women globally, and I figured out there were three things that they wanted. The first thing was brutal honesty with brutal kindness. So tell me what I need to hear, but do it because you care. The second thing was visibility. So not in terms of writing books and doing, shows or whatever. It was more about when she walks into her room, she stands in her own light with self-respect, she says her piece, and people turn around and say, "What she said." Hence the name of the group. The
I'm, like,
group is what she said.
goosebumpy.
Yeah. And the third thing is that they wanted a really strong sense of community, like truly, like tied together. What happens in the posse? So we are a posse of bad bitches doing great things, as you said earlier.
Yeah.
So that's what this group is about. So it's what she said: a posse of bad bitches doing great things, and what happens in the posse stays in the posse. And we're not a big group, but I didn't want a big group. I'm not about the transactions. I'm about the relationships. Everybody that's part of this and joins, I meet with them first, and I can honestly tell you that the essence of every single human being in that group is incredible. And
Mm.
so what I wanted to do was I wanted to do that, but I wanted to, like, you can do that kind of stuff in a mixture of places, maybe not all in one spot. But what I wanted to do is I really wanted to help women grow, because I think we're the most underutilized resource the world has. And I also know that when women rise, society rises, right?
1,000 bazillion percent.
And
Yeah.
if you look at the countries that are being run by women, far better off than the ones that are run by men. But I didn't want to get into stats, because we can all do that and talk about the plight of women, like venture funding and all that
That's a
stuff.
whole week long
Yeah,
of 8 hours
yeah,
a day,
yeah,
and by the and we and of course, then there are gonna be the, we love men, we're not it's not an anti-men thing, we just,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But I didn't want to focus on anything else but the growth of women. So one of the things that we're doing, and there's it's evolving as we go because people are coming up with these fantastic ideas. So we come up with an idea, we just do it, kind of thing. Let's do it. So one of the crux of what we do right now is every time a woman joins, she joins a posse, sorry, a squad of 5 to 7 women. You can still hear me, right?
Yeah, yep.
Oh, because I'm frozen on my screen and I don't know why.
It goes in and out a little bit, and actually I went in and out a little bit because for some reason, my my some update with Mac, has made it so that if I don't do anything on the screen, it even though this is running, it
Yeah.
thinks, "Oh, I'm just gonna go to sleep," and I have to
Yeah, yeah,
relog
yeah,
in my
yeah. Yeah.
gigantic it's
Me
very
too,
weird.
me too. But what I was gonna say, and this is, it doesn't matter if you see me, but what you hear
I
is that when each woman joins, she is part of a squad of 5 to 7 women, and those women act as your board of directors, and they are
Oh,
responsible for your growth. So, if in a normal situation, if you and I are having an accountability group, let's say, and we're gonna, as women, we're gonna commit to 7 million things we're gonna do in the next week,
right.
um, and we only get to two, not 2 million, just two. Um, and then we push everything else to the next week. So there really is no accountability as such. There's no consequence, right? But in this case, it's very different because you are responsible for doing stuff to help someone else.
Oh, I like it.
And what happens is, guilt is a beautiful thing when you use it strategically.
Strategically, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And so what happens is number one, it narrows your focus down. So everybody is not asking for a lot. They're not planning on doing 7 million. We're going to bring it down to one thing that you want to do to move your business forward. And how can we help you this week? And then we go around the table and say, okay, this is, I can connect you with this person, or I can, ask you to do this or suggest this or show you a template or spend 30 minutes with you, whatever it is. And then it becomes like a surround sound thing because then we go to the next person and they get the same focus, and then the
Nice.
next person. So theoretically, that's the way it should work. We're kind of finding our way a little bit still. And of
Hey,
course
you're
there,
new. That's
well,
expected.
and people always, think, and this is one of the things I talk about a lot, is they always think they know, um, how they want to do things, where as if you just open your mind and try,
Yeah, yeah.
just use the tool because it's been so successful elsewhere. Use the tool, do the job, and there's no way you can't move forward because everybody's working on it with you,
That's
right?
awesome.
So it's very
Uh,
different. So that's
uh,
what we do. Yeah, and we're an intimate group, and I don't want thousands of women in this group. I want it to be pretty
intimate,
tight.
yeah.
Yeah, intimate, tight. And it's not an exclusive group or anything like that. It's not, it's definitely not very shishi and elite or anything.
Well, let me go back and I wanna
Yeah,
ask you, you talked about the 3 things that women, in business want. I think probably I would dare to say, most or all women want. I wanna dive a little bit into each of these because I love this because I
yeah.
think you're just spot on. So let's talk about the honesty. We want honesty, but with kindness. So talk to me a little bit about that. Uh-oh. I lost Wandana. Hopefully she'll come back. Well, while she is gone, I'm going to go back here and make sure that I can see when she comes back on. She must have been kicked out. Oh, this is what we love about lives. Joanne saying this is why she has a posse of badass bitches because she's the queen. 100% Wandana. Here she is.
Guys.
There she is. I was just like playing you up here, reading some of the comments about how you're the queen, and
Keep reading those. Maybe that's better.
we love lives. Yeah, well, let me finish through them here, so and we'll go back. So Doris says about general anesthetic. She said my husband said the same about general anesthetic. Best sleep he'd ever had, and he was annoyed about being brought out of it. Yes, that's how I felt when I was brought back into the room. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" And it was so quick. Then I came out of it too. They were like the lady next door, because my colonoscopy was delayed, and I could hear, and it was just they kept going in, Mrs. Jones, are you, for like an hour. And I thought, and I was just, within 5 minutes, I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, I could probably drive if I wanted to, but didn't. And then Trisha Lewis dashed in for a 5 minute fix. Trisha, another guest from a few weeks back. And I'm also going to be talking with Trisha next week about her amazing book, which I will give her a little plug right now, The Mystery of the Squash Self. We are going to talk about one of the chapters, actually, probably a lot of the chapters, but we're going to be recording her podcast. So the amazing Trisha Lewis. Okay, so back to honesty. Why do we want honesty? Why do women want honesty?
I think, we're tired of lip service. And because that doesn't really get us anywhere. So it's like, tell me what I really need to hear, because nobody else is telling me that. So, give me that. And don't hold back, because I'd rather know the brutal truth than never learning and never progressing because I didn't. And so that's really what that one is about. But the thing is that you can be honest, and this was a hard lesson for me to learn based on the culture that I grew up in. But um, you can be honest and you can be nice. So there's no reason for why
You
it would
can
be.
be those things together. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And learn that in the corporate world, because it's like,
Yes.
what?
I was just going to say. Well, I did, the same thing with me, because one of the things that in fact, I wrote a book called From Blah to Badass, and it was 8 lessons on how to be and not be a good leader. And one of them was about transparency, which I kind of lump in with honesty, right? Honesty and transparency, they're a little bit different, but they kind of go hand in hand.
Uh-huh.
And it was just this idea that we can't tell people stuff, or like we can't tell them stuff that might be they might can be construed as bad, or we have to filter the message or sugarcoat the message. We can't just be outright. And time again, it was so appreciated because I was very transparent, as much as I legally or ethically could. I was honest with my team, where my upper management maybe didn't want me to be, or didn't want to be, about whatever, just sometimes stupid stuff, like
Yeah.
somebody gets fired or leaves the team. I'm not saying we have to give them, their Laura Palmer diary of why they left, but we can tell people, hey, so and so is no longer here, rather than people just go, hey, it's been 3 days, and Sue's gone, what happened? Right? Just stupid stuff like that. Like, just be, and I think that's true of men and women, and
And
anybody.
I'm just going to say one thing. Sorry to interrupt, Beth,
No.
but it just sparked something in me. Is that, people talk about authenticity. Authenticity is a given now.
Yeah.
Like, authenticity is not enough. You want the honesty.
Yeah.
If I'm
100%.
talking to you, of course I'm expecting you to be authentic. It's like saying to somebody, no offense or anything, and then I'm going to offend you. Or
Right.
like, it's like it's just a given, right?
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
people say it, it's like I'm, I just really want to be authentic with you. It's like that's kind of like you're already
Yeah.
on, aren't you?
Yeah.
So
Right. Shouldn't you
that
just be
was
that?
yeah. It's an existence. It's not a deliberate action.
Okay, so let's go to then visibility, to be seen and heard. Another one that resonates with me, certainly from my corporate days of, well, you name it, doctors, corporate. I mean, pretty much anything.
Yeah, this was something that I just want to be seen and heard. It's as simple as that. But it's not seen and heard from a tangible, you know, like yeah, from a tangible sense where people can touch it. But it's an issue of being respectful. And
Yeah.
people always say like, bad bitch. It's a very polarizing word, and I have words, and I get that, and I'm happy with that. Because if you can't understand what a bad bitch is, you probably don't belong in this group.
Right.
I don't mean disrespectfully. I just mean that,
Yeah.
a bad bitch is like the ultimate compliment. Like she has been through life. She has been through experiences. She has come out on top, or at least on the other side of history. She has figured things out. She is not afraid. Like there's so many things. It's almost like she's a survivor, but in such a motivating way. And
Yeah.
so that's what this
Love that.
group is. Yeah. And then the last thing is um basically being like a sisterhood,
Yeah.
having each
Oh,
other's back.
The
Yeah.
older that I get, and I think that's one of the things, although I love working from home, I really do miss,
Yeah.
um, the being out in society and having a group of people. I was just thinking this morning, another weird thing that I think of when I'm driving, but I have this live podcast and I have amazing guests, but I've had podcasts in the past and I've always been in search of somebody to who is just like, like me, like, and I thought, oh my God, my two sisters, maybe they would do a podcast with me. So it's just it's funny that that importance of having,
You know,
that
you
those
you
women.
might be interested in knowing this. So we are just a couple of the women, including Joanne, who's on right now, um, are like gung ho about doing a podcast. And I was always thinking, I was thinking more of a TV show. These guys and ended up
Mhm.
bringing a podcast up, and it's going to be like a Moxie Lounge, you
It's
know.
almost the same thing now. My goal, and I used to have one. I had one called "The View from Olympus" with a friend of mine who is very witty, very sharp, and very smart. And we would have these. We would pretend like we were gods on Olympus. We even had fake names that we'd joke about, and then we would judge humanity on just the stupidity. And it was sort of a way for us to vent. And I loved doing
Brilliant.
it.
That's
Yeah,
brilliant.
I loved it, I loved it. Unfortunately, he just had, some time conflicts and, we ended up putting it on hiatus, but that's what I envision, like, I don't want it to be businessy at all, although we may talk about stuff, but it's just more like life, whatever, just things that, I don't know, just
There's exact that's exactly what we were talking about just last week about when we were talking about the podcast is stuff that is so ridiculous or absurd that
yeah,
but it's a topic of conversation and it's
yeah,
very it's a very recent, like it's making sure that we're timely in the conversations that we have and
yes,
bringing on
exactly.
different people at different times and stuff. So I don't know, you should come by, come hang
Yeah,
out.
let me know, I would love to listen in, it sounds exactly what I was, yeah, I mean, we would talk about crazy stuff like, um why when they show people on TV and movies that are couples and they snuggle at night, I don't get that. For me, there's a time to snuggle and a time to be, touching each other. And then when I'm ready to go to bed, you go to your side of the bed and I'm going to my other side of the bed. And my friend was like, he was like, yeah, same thing. And he had some witty stuff, but it's just stuff like that, crazy stuff that, and some politics and sometimes religion
Yeah,
and little things. But
yeah.
Dora says about honesty requires safety, and in many corporate environments, people don't feel safe being honest. Very true. And that was something that I really worked very hard to. I had a great honesty relationship with my team. Unfortunately, it didn't extend up the ladder. Having an environment where you can be that and be supported and not judged is hugely beneficial. Yeah, 100%. You probably experienced that in corporate too, where
Big
that
time.
honesty was sometimes there and sometimes, a lot of times not.
Yeah, talked about it a lot but didn't happen a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Okay, so folks, we are going to be wrapping up here shortly. So if you have any final comments or feedback, please put them in now. There is a little bit of a delay, so I want to make sure we get all of your comments, questions, etc. So Wandana, before we do wrap up, what do you want our listeners to know? What do you got coming up? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Oh
Of course, I will
gosh,
put all of this stuff and more in the comments. But yeah, tell us.
so many things. First of all, if
We
we are
didn't
not,
even talk about your book. Oh my god.
yeah, I know.
We'll talk about it real quick because I know that's one of the links that I'm putting up here on the screen, thebookofmight.com.
Yeah, please go there. Please sign up for the launch party. It's been 4 years in the making,
Oh,
and I'm deliriously excited about it. It's a very good book. It's called Might, and with a double entendre. So might as in power, so the power to solve the impossible and change everything, and might as in possibility. So how might we?
love it.
So, where do you go when nothing seems to work or you
Yeah.
don't begin? So, and it's a fun read. Like it's not, I mean, it's a serious read if you learn the principles, but there's stories in there and there's real life examples in there. So it's not just stuff that's, that reads like an encyclopedia. Let's put it that way.
What is your launch date?
June the 12th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And if you
Awesome.
go to the link, if you click on this link, there's a way for you to sign up it's a Zoom call. It's only an hour.
Oh, awesome.
So please do sign up. And of course, if you are interested in the posse, then go to thisiswhatshesaid.com brilliance.com.
And I will put that also in the comments as well.
Now, I have a little gift for you,
Oh, yay.
for your readers. If you're
Yay.
so this the Might series is 4 books. It's going to be 4 books. And I'm giving people the opportunity, if they would like, to sort of apply, but really participate and send me their most absurd, ironic, counterintuitive stories that should never have happened, but did. And the result was pretty fantastic. So, so things like chocolate and peanut butter. Wow. That changed life. Right. Right.
Right?
But I
Who's
mean,
the genius that came up with that one?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or just things like, you think about a chicken, for example, and it's like, somebody saw a big white ball coming out of a chicken's butt and said, let's eat this.
I think about that with things like bread, like I try to think or beer, like how did somebody figure out all
Yeah.
that it takes to make beer and then how brilliant or bread, like somebody probably just left something out and it
Yeah.
fermented
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
it heated and they were like, "Hey,
And
this
folks
ain't bad."
started feeling much better.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is that you can apply, or you can send me your ideas, and if your idea is chosen, you get to be in the book.
Yay. Well, we'll put that link out there in the comments as well. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I'm
Yeah.
so excited for you.
Thank you.
I love the concept of this book and I love that you're pulling in participation. Of course, as an author, I always love, anytime anybody is putting another bit of their heart and soul out there into the world.
I love
So
that. Thank you
awesome.
so much.
And so your launch is on June 12th. Is that when the book will be available
Yeah.
for? Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
It might be available a couple of days in advance, but we're just working on the final details right now.
Awesome.
And if nothing else, June the 12th, it'll be available. And the
Awesome.
idea is to get as many people there. So I'd love it if you could share, whoever is here,
Yeah,
and if you're watching the replay, if you could share the link, I would love that.
that's awesome. I will try to be there myself as long as I can. I'm just going to go run to the comments real quick here to get the
Yeah.
last few.
Yeah.
Joanne says, "So glad to have been here today. Great to meet you, Beth Ann. You as well, Joanne. And you have a new fan. Oh, thank you.
Aw.
And an old fan for you, for sure. Wandana, this is from Doris. Wandana, you're an absolute force of nature, unstoppable. Yes. I feel like you need to come back later in this year because
Yeah.
maybe after your book is out. And because I
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't even get to half of my notes here. I had stuff that,
And you know what I have to tell you? This is the book series, one book series. There's 10 more that I'm working on. Yeah, I know it's crazy. One of them is on the fascinating
so this
history.
is the first of 4 in this series, but you've
Yeah.
got another 6 or so, another half
Yeah.
dozen that you're well, I love that. I love
But one of them,
I'm yeah.
I just have to tell you that the next book is on, the next series is on the fascinating histories of Hollywood. And
What?
it
Well,
got
that's a switch.
invited to the Oscars.
What?
Yeah. So that's pretty exciting.
Wait, you got invited to the Oscars?
The book did. So I mean I could go if I wanted to, but yeah.
Oh,
So
that's so is this a completed book or this is a book that you're
well,
working
this is really funny because I was invited without even the book even being launched. So it's written, completely written. Just going through the editorial stage right now. I think I need to change a couple of things on it. But didn't even know, and it was like, but they heard my story and they heard about the book. Like if I told you how the book opened, you'd be like, sign me up. Because it's nothing like you've heard before.
on. All
You know.
right, well, we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to save that one for your next visit. Well,
Yeah.
we'll get you on the schedule for later this year because yeah, I'm fascinated.
Awesome. Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being my guest on The Thirsty Professional. I just love having badass women who support women, especially on this show. You're out there, you're kicking ass, you're taking names, and I look forward to seeing you out there in the world, but also back here again later this year.
Would love that.
Awesome.
Thank you, Beth Ann.
Yeah, thank you. All right, next week, my very special guest will be Heather Black. So, Heather is a spicy Carolina girl. I hope that's a Carolina accent. There's a lot of Southern accents. It's probably not right. Infusing a dash of Southern charm into the neon world of Las Vegas. So she is an event expert, 25 years of experience. She empowers mission driven, heart centered entrepreneurs to ignite their income with events and speaking engagements. So, speakers and hosts, take note. She's got a signature process called the Phoenix Effect, raises you out of the ashes. And remember, you have to burn in order to rise from the ashes. So you must fail in order to grow. I love that. So her Phoenix Effect raises you out of the ashes of overwhelm, increases your income, and elevates your impact. We're going to learn about that during her appearance here. She's also a badass, very opinionated, and of course, I love that. Just like I love that with you, Vandana. Look forward to having her on the show. If you're out there watching on LinkedIn, please connect if you're not already, both with me and with Vandana out there. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you have any additional questions or feedback, leave them in the comments or DM us if you're able to do that. And congratulate yourself for getting real about your career, your purpose, and your passion. So now, Vandana, Miss Hattie Arbuckle, my lovely hat here, and I will bid you a fond farewell. Take it easy.